Morgott has a lot to live up to. Firstly, he's got to be more than just a copy-paste of Morgott with a new and difficult moveset. He's got to live up to the entirety of Leyndell, which is one of the most elaborate and sprawling legacy dungeons in the game. He's also got to have story significance that creates a sense of escalation. After all, we are at the foot of the Erdtree. Thankfully, he lives up to most of these. Morgott is my favorite boss fight, and though he isn't perfect, he is still kind of incredible. And I thought I would talk about why. Morgott first appears to most players as Morgott the Fell, and his character there seems clear. On a gameplay level, he is a teacher, he's a test for the player. He delays attacks and he baits your rolls. On the story level, as TBSkyen pointed out in his excellent analysis, he seems like some kind of caretaker and protector. Even though he's wearing rags, the holy weapons that he manifests and the large collar around his neck give him a sense of regality. Despite only wearing a single tattered cloak, he carries himself very differently, speaking in archaic English and demonstrating holy power. Morgott the Fell is a shadowy figure of war. You can find a sword monument in the Altus Plateau that details the bodies that he stacked up during the Shattering. The artwork at the beginning of the game shows him pinning down Radahn without even needing to use his sword, indicating that while on the battlefield, he's using his Morgott persona. I doubt the other demigods were even aware of his existence. Of course, all of this becomes much clearer when it's revealed that Morgott is the king of the royal capital, with his throne right at the foot of the Erdtree. To me, Morgott is something of an evolution of Gwyndolin from Dark Souls. Much like Gwyndolin, the first players will see of him will be in the form of magical projections, used by both to protect their respective golden cities. Both of them have growths on their otherwise human form that seem unnatural, but that's honestly where the comparisons end. Despite being royalty, Morgott is an omen, and omen are, in the eyes of the Golden Order, vile and accursed. Whether they actually are is a different story. After all, the omen curse seems to originate from the Crucible. It's only the newer Golden Order that deems it as forsaken. There is a strange beauty in the traits of the omen, all of which are shown in the aspects of the Crucible. A powerful tail, twisting and solid horns, breathing fire, and, of course, wings. But Morgott doesn't see this as beauty. Why would he? His entire life he has been reviled for it. It only makes sense that a resentment would build up for the affliction that supposedly made him deserving of his confinement in the sewers. Just as he hides away the colours of his sword under a cane, he stifles the growths from his head. The horns above his left eye are nothing but stumps, they've been completely severed. If Moke's twisting, self-blinding horns represent his frenzied, blood-crazed ambition, his brother's is the complete opposite, stifled and kept neatly to one side of his head, permanently left subdued. The shackle that touches the cells is proof that Morgott knows of the subterranean shunning grounds and of the oppression and imprisonment of the Omen, of his people, having lived through that imprisonment himself. And yet, he does nothing about it. Having clearly broken free of those physical shackles, he remains in mental ones. He lets his brethren continue to suffer in the sewers as he stays above. Morgott is shameful, he hides his nature and he gains a reputation as the Veiled Monarch. While Gwyndolin is physically weak and hides behind deception with Anor Londo and Guinevere, Morgott is different. Despite hiding his true nature, he isn't afraid to make himself known in some way. He embraces this dark identity on the battlefield to slay Tarnished that approach Stormveil Castle.
Someone must extinguish thy flame. Let it be Morgott the Fell.
You see, Morgott carries a sense of pride as well. Taking on the persona of Morgott, he doesn't need to hide himself and his Omen identity. Instead, he takes it on as a mantle, one of a deadly protector. He looks down on the Tarnished, he calls them foul, foolish and graceless, almost like he's projecting those feelings for himself onto his victims. It is a trauma response that's all too familiar in real life. But despite this pride, Morgott never goes further than condemnation. He never tries to usurp other powers, though he's definitely capable of doing so. He never claims more great runes for himself, for example, despite the sorry states of Godric and Rennala. In every fight, Morgott seems to carry this deep-seated hatred for his flame of ambition. In his eyes, it seems that this ambition is what brought the lands between to the state that it's in now. Demigods killing each other and warring over the Elden Ring. Morgott is no warmonger, he is always simply a protector. That combination of pride and shame is interesting, because despite never being rewarded, Morgott takes it upon himself to serve as Leyndell's king. He looks down upon his fellow shardbearers as traitors, seeing himself as above them. And yet, he doesn't, as shown in the same moments when he enters his second phase.
The thrones, stained by my curse, such shame I cannot bear. Thy part in this shall not be forgiven.
Even though Morgott hates those who sit upon the thrones, he deeply respects what the thrones are and what they represent to the Golden Order. You could see him as a monarchist who hates a ruler but still treats them with reverence. He even refers to the twisted Godric as the Golden rather than the Grafted, not necessarily respecting Godric himself but rather his lineage. He calls the thrones stained by his curse, that deep self-hatred coming out again and again, as much as he tries to act superior. Morgott's pride is kept in check by his own self-loathing, and that does nothing but fill him with more spite. It is that spite that channels in pretty much every line of dialogue he says. Curses, anger, shame, and blame. And so, the cycle continues until we end it for him.
Have it writ upon thy meagre grave. Felled by King Morgott, last of all kings.
One of the first things that struck me when I first fought Morgott was his speed. You get glimpses of his mobility when he's Morgott, where he floats around the arena and throws himself into the air with his hammer, but you never really get a sense of just how fast he is until you fight him in his true form. Morgott's cane and appearance is deceptive, because when you fight him for real, he easily has some of the most fluid and powerful animation work FromSoft have ever done. Part of that, I think, is because Morgott isn't some egotistical demigod who underestimates you, and neither is he the teacher that he once was. This fight is not just a duel, it has significance because it's a rematch. Morgott knows that you can kill him because you already have. In the Morgott fight, his movements are deliberate, he is slow and delayed, obviously he's trying to catch you off guard. His moveset is intentionally testing with the most complex attack chart that FromSoft have ever done. Morgott is full of different responses based on your position, unique follow-ups and delays and tests all over the place. But in the capital, you've already taken down at least 2 other shardbearers. Morgott's movement becomes far quicker as he wails on you with acrobatic spins and slashes. Although he still does have different follow-ups and responses, and although he's much faster, he's also a little simpler. All of this combined makes his fight incredibly fun. Morgott will run circles around you, he leaps and he does acrobatic flip attacks with his sword. It's almost like a dance when he does this somersault and flips as you both do a roll at the same time. And it shows that this isn't a duel between a teacher and a student like the Gates of Stormvale, but a duel between 2 equals. He's more lethal, but he's also less unpredictable. Like all of Elden Ring's best fights, learning behavior based on positioning is key. His powerful attacks can be dodged just by standing in the right place. The same lessons he taught you as Morgott can be applied here, but now you're far stronger. And of course, his second phase only serves to prove that point. Morgott makes use of his Omen blood, something that he feels nothing but shame for, in desperation while trying to kill you. He remarks on his shame during the battle as bile floods the arena, and he begins using Omen Bloodflame in his sword attacks, reminiscent of his brother. Several of Morgott's attacks have him cut his own hand to coat the weapon in blood, showing how much he's willing to sacrifice to strike you down. Another attack, a specific follow-up to breaking your guard, has him flailing at you in a frenzy. He summons pretty much all of his golden weapons in one long string of anger. It's almost like he sees you get slightly staggered and seizes the opportunity to go all out in rage. And yet, it's not enough. Morgott's health is lower than it should be, his second phase only adding a couple of new moves, the effect a little underwhelming when you do kill him. He has no second health bar. When you beat Morgott, that's it. Unintentional as it probably is, Morgott's weakness only serves to make his character all the more sad. If I could change one thing about him, it would be giving him a second full health bar, because a moveset this good truly deserves one. He dies so quickly that the quality of his fight often gets overlooked. Despite being a king, Morgott lives a life of servitude to a higher power that never did anything for him, one that shaped his beliefs so strongly that he genuinely thinks he deserves everything that he's gotten. Morgott never once questions his order, his beloved Erdtree, merely himself. He is humble yet not. He is a good king, raised by a power akin to an abusive system. The boss fight shows what Morgott could be, someone at his strongest when he embraces his nature. But he never moves past his self-loathing, still condemning himself to the very end.
Tarnished. Thou art but a fool. The Erdtree wards off all who deign approach. We are all forsaken. None may claim the title of Elden Lord. Thy deeds shall be met with failure, just as I.
Morgott dies nihilistic, wheezing and forsaken, left to rot by the throne, his beloved Erdtree ablaze right above him, until he fades away in the arms of his father. Even the ray of grace that he disappears into does nothing but point towards you, a final beg, a plea to kill you. I think it's oddly fitting that the only figure who showed any compassion for him in the end was Tarnished.